Good evening. We continue to hear Likutey Moaharn, Torah Samach. The shir will be Leilu Nishmas. Again. Raphael. Yitzchak. Ben Abraham. And your sister? I know. Leilu Nishmas. Miriam. But Moshe Gabriel. Hashem. And for everyone that needs refuah with Hashem. So we're dealing here in a very complex and long process. And Rabbeinu says that the Shvila Torah, there's great Itzbeinus in them. You can't get to this, to be able to get this Itzbeinus, except if you possess a great wealth. This kind of wealth you cannot get unless you stretch out, you lengthen, you broaden your days for the Riches Yamin. And the way this is done is through Europe. Yiras Hashem, that's the thing that broadens the day. That because it says the longevity we're talking about, the long days that we are talking about, and not just year by year, day by day, whatever it is that person lives to be 100, 200, 300. We're not talking about that. We're talking about that every single day there's additional kedusha that is added into the day. That's called Arichas Yomim. So the Rebbe said, okay, how does the Yira bring about, enable the Shiras to exist? This is what happens is the Yira, there is a certain element, certain midah that causes a person to be poor. And the thing that causes a person to be poor, to lack the kind of wealth that is needed, to have this Itzbeinus in the Torah, is of course a Shiras the Kedusha. Because the Shiras the Sitra Achra obviously doesn't mean anything. Doesn't matter how much you have, unless you don't have it, doesn't mean anything. He says because the thing that causes a person to, not to be able to have the kind of wealth, the Kedusha, is when a person is afflicted with all kinds of false, cutiness, cutesies, kind of like affectations that people do in talk, in eating, in whatever it is to be nice and other people. That is the thing that does it, is sheker achen. When they have chen of sheker, that in itself, the source of that, the root of that, is hevel hayoti. When a person does not keep himself, is not careful, does not stay away, but let himself be dragged after the pleasure of the beauty of women. And when a person is attracted to that, so automatically, in order to be able to, to enable this taiva, and on any level, it doesn't matter, if it's a person actually goes and does something or whatever it is. The minute the person's his inyan is that he's being nimsha, that he's being pulled by the beauty of women, automatically he's being afflicted with affectations, like in speech and in conduct, in the way that you stand, in the way that you walk, in the way that you say, saying dude, kind of that. each one according to his. So the Rebbe says that that's the reason why Abraham Yitzchak, when according to their incredible kedusha, when they got to the level, they started noticing how beautiful their own women were, wives were. So immediately they understood that there's a problem with the year in those things. So they forbid themselves, being with their wives as if their wives were their sisters. So we're talking about this week. Yitzchak Avinu went to the land of Plishtim. Again, he felt there is fault in the year. He said, my sister. Avinu says, he forbade himself, he asked himself, the zivug of his wife as if she was like a sister. But once he managed to rectify that lack of yira, and this is signified by lengthening one day, because without you cannot lengthen your days, right? So the kind of lengthening the days that we are talking about. So that's what it said in the Chumash in this week's Pasha. When the days became lengthened, which means he was able to be Masak in the year over there, then he allowed himself, to live together with his wife again. Abimelech got all, all dazzled by this thing. And he said, what did you do? Whatever it is, how can you do something like this? And he said, you almost got us into trouble. So that's what it said. Yitzchak said, it says, I was afraid that I'll be killed over her, because and immediately what comes after is Yitzchak, was ready. He sown the fields, and he got 100-folds, in the crops, and he became very, very wealthy, and he had slaves, and he had this, and he had that, whatever. In other words, this whole process of lack of yira, Yitzchak Avinu corrected lack of yira, that he can be together with his wife again. Once he fixes the yira, immediately he becomes wealthy. That kind of wealth that we're talking about is a rich that brings to his tunas ater l'omka. It says, however, when a person is afflicted with chen shel sheker, because he is being attracted by the beauty of women, we said that it has to do with how a person breathes. He says that when a person actually, Rabbeinu went into a great length, when a person is not careful, does not stay away, is not, he's not on guard from the susceptibility of the Hevel HaYofi, he comes into poverty. He says because the Ashiris and the Hevel HaYofi are two opposites. He says in the time when the tipa comes out, as we said, there has to be the breathing has to stop. So the tipa doesn't cool, as we said, and the very same time when a person is doiche the tipa, the air cannot come in, because we said it's the same kind of principle of a Golos Kalim, being that something is busy pushing something out, it cannot push something in at the same time. It's either this or that. This is why you can take kalim and put them in hot water, and even though you toiveled out the kalim, that the chometz is a kalim, and there's chometz in the water, right? You took it out from that. But nevertheless, being that the kalim of toivel is busy to push out the chometz, it does not absorb the chometz. And so this union of the air that the person took into his lungs is being mislabish in that tipa. It's called hevel hayofi. Is a hevel bnei adam, because this hevel is the thing that typifies the kind of child that will be that will develop from this tipo. So the Hevel HaYofi is something that is the result of stopping the breed, of kosher neshima, hefsek neshima. Then says that's the opposite of wealth. Opposite of wealth, wealth is arichas neshima, because all kinds of ashiris, all kol minei dagon v'chol ilonos ve'asav v'kol minei matchos, v'makal de geshamim. All the crops, all the fruits, and even all the all the minerals, everything is coming from a combination that where the rain is catalyzes the earth, whatever it is that is potentially in the earth, it's the seeds or within the earth itself, the kind of makeup for all kinds of minerals and deposits and whatever it is. The rain is the thing that catalyzes the whole process. That's why it also says that it says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring about Tal Techiyah, the dew of resurrection. On the other hand, we know Motzei Shabbos Yit Melav Malka, not to give chiyus to that microscopic nekuda in the back of a person's back on the top. It's called the etzem aluz. That this particular etzem, this particular bone, is indestructible no matter what happens. The person, chas v'chalila, person remains burnt or crushed or whatever it is. That even aluz can never ever be destroyed. This is why, because a person is going to be recreated from the essence of the person is in that particular etzem aluz. That's the. So comes the question. So what is it? Is it talas tchiyah, the dew of resurrection, or is it etzem aluz? Is the bone of the luz? Which one is it? The answer is both. You know, the etzem aluz is like the seed, right? And the talat tchiyah, it's that chemically the thing that enables etzem aluz to flourish and to get up and develop and become the person that it was once before, but this time complete and what you call a person 2.0. In other words, like an approved version. That's, by the way, that's the reason also why when Rabbeinu explains that people think the Mashiach will come and the people no longer will pass away. Rabbeinu says this is not true. Mashiach himself will pass away. So, and we know that everybody after 120 years has to leave this world. The reason why, even before the Tchiyah, the people that will live at the time of the resurrection, what about them? I mean, will they just continue and won't experience this? And the thing is no. And that's it, is they will expire and they will resurrect. So why? Why is already alive? Why go through the whole rigmarole of dying and rising again? The answer is that all the people that are alive and will be alive until the time of resurrection are the progeny of Adam HaRishon. Adam HaRishon, being that he ate from Etz Hadas, he brought Misa L'Olam. Death was decreed from the world, which means all the bodies that are the result of the chain reaction from Adam HaRishon cannot exist forever, because they are the progeny of something upon which it was decreed that there will come to a certain point where they have to leave this world. After the Tchiyah, you can look at it as I said, people 2.0. It's like the older body, the body of the people from Adam HaRishon until Tchias HaMeisim, It's like they won't be able to stand the voltage of the neshama, of Tchias Mason. So it has to die first, and then it has to become a brand new Tchia of a body that is, that is upgraded, and so it is able to accept and sustain the neshama forever. It's not something that needs to pass away. That's the reason why people have to first of all pass away and then get up again. So that kind of what do you call that? The culture. When they want to check for step throat, right? So they put the the swab in it, and and then they take this agar culture and the red thing, and the smear on it, then the cover. They want to see what grows on it, right? So that culture is a bit that enables whatever bacteria is on it to grow. The talat chiyah, the dew of chiyah, is that like a culture that enables to, that wakes up, the stored codex, which is in the Eben Aluz, the Etzem Aluz, and will make it grow. That wakes it up, gives it the proper, conditions that it can grow and develop and become a full person. So both are, and this today is being done by the rain. The rains, throughout the winter, the different kinds of the kind of winter, with this. Shalos Ilchas Tainis, it says, when is a time when rain don't come that people declare Tainis? What kind of Tainis? Who's with Mr. Tanech? Chachom Mitzvah Days. Bring everybody. There are different kinds. So they said the winter is divided to Revere, Rishono, Revere Shnir, Shlish, and so forth and so on. Revere, he says, what is Revere? Revere means like impregnation. That the rain interact with the earth, and Kaviochel, it impregnates the earth and enables the seeds to grow, and the deposits to form, and metals, to come about, and so forth and so on. It's a combination of the offer of the earth together with the rain. The Mime, it says, call me in a dog on all the illuminance, all that stuff, everything that grows, in all kinds of metals, everything will rak alidei gishamim. This is not possible unless there's rain. So it says in Bereshis, in the very beginning, and he says, and it says, and there was no crops upon the earth, because Hashem didn't bring rain yet, because there's no man in order to cultivate the land. So he says, what do you mean men to cultivate? What's got to do if there's crops? So you cultivate it. There are no crops. There's nothing. What's in the guess? So, and Chazal said, doesn't mean that there's no rain. There's no person to sow the seeds or whatever. That's not there's no person to daven for rains. That's what Chazal said. There's no person that our nation wasn't created yet, so there's no person to daven for rain. The tefillah bring about the rain. The rain is the thing that fertilizes and impregnates, as it were, the earth, and everything is able to grow. Hashem will open to you his good treasure. Remember, we said Oitzer is Yira, right? There's a Yiras Hashem Yotzar, right? The Yiras Hashem, is that treasure. To give the rain of your country at its time. So the Oitzer, the thing that enables the treasuries to be filled, has to be with the rain. V'ageshamim, and the geshamim, they come up in Neshama. They are, how the Neshamim come about? That from the intake of air from the outside. Same thing is actually happening physically with clouds. that there are, there's molecules of water, in the clouds. Is all they are. When the cold air comes from the outside, whatever it is, and they coalesce into actual raindrops. It's too heavy already to hold in the air, and they fall down. Moshe Kosu menishmas kelit and kerach verochav mayim amutzok. From the breath of the ruach of Hakadosh Baruch Hu, the ice comes. That is through this comes the width of water flows into a narrow place. In other words, the waters in the sea cannot bring about waves because there's ice upon them. In other words, when Hashem blows His wind, now we're talking about there is a ruchnis dechira, a spiritual level where all these things are happening, and then it sort of like materializes, and it manifests itself in the physical level. That when the cold wind comes, they cause the water to freeze, and when the water freezes and they form ice, the water underneath them cannot make waves, right? Because they're being pressed down. So the ability of the water to expand and become make waves is being compressed by the ice. Everything is being caused by the cold breath of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nishmat kel, from the breathing of Hashem, Yiten kerach, it forms ice, the rochav mayim, and the water which can be can expand by waves, whatever it is. But mutzak, it's sort of like it keeps it down, it presses it down, is unable to bring waves. The water and the ice are being formed by the air that they receive from the breath of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And since the shears come from the rain, and the rain come from the neshima of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so it was arichas neshima, the lengthening of the air, the lengthening of the neshima, that's the thing that brings about the rain, which bring about their shears. So when somebody covets the beauty of women, he is mekabel the hefsek neshima, the stoppage of the movement of air, and therefore is distant from their shears. And somebody is zocher to yiro because he keeps away from the beauty of women. He's zocher to chiles arichas neshima. He's getting the lengthening of the quality of the lengthening of breath, which is the thing that propagates the rain, which brings about the shears and so forth and so on. Then he's zochet shears. The bechinas mashenema hoin ashir kiyas uzoin. The wealth of a person is the fortress of his might. Now the ashiris, this is the wealth of a person, of a wealthy person, or the bechinas neshima is through this bechina of neshima, which is the cold air that you receive at every moment from the outside. Kiryas Uzoi, what is Kiryas Uzoi? Al Pipshat, we understand this is, the castle, this is the fortress of his strength, but Kiryas Uzoi also, they come through the cold air. Kiryas Mishon Kal. Mistras Uzoi, Geshe Mitras Uzoi, that says that the always of Kadosh Baruch Hu is called the might of Kadosh Baruch Hu. This is the Geshamim. And the Rebbe said it again. Now I know that what we're talking about here is extremely complex, extremely profound, and it's very hard to keep pace with whatever is going on here. But nevertheless, first of all, let's just put down the principle, remind the principle of just hearing this and hearing the translation of it and going along with it is a schus l'netzach. It's a schus forever. So let's be patient with this particular union and go through it. Because there is a pshat that we can learn from it, lefi b'chinaseinu, which B'ezrat Hashem we will talk. But nevertheless, let's follow what it is that the Rebbe says. That what we are looking for when we listen to this and we try to understand, at least, the thigh bone is connected, the hip bone connected to this, connected to that, things bring about to this, brings about to this. At least that's just, we know the flow. That in itself is a oitzel netzach. This is something that that exists forever. So let's just keep on with it. Are they the nonsense of the goyim? Havla goyim, the silliness of the goyim, is a makshim. It is something that actually produces a sustainable wealth that exists forever. Rabbeinu says, look at all the wealth in the world. Everybody's running after money. Where's all the money people will be making? Where is it? Everything is just keeps on. So somebody already has wealth, that reaches all the way to the moon. It's nonsense. Ayesh mehavle agoy magshimim. It says that's the osha that comes. It's curious also. Sometimes he says that the osha of the person is come to the al pipshat. It says the curious uzoy. Just a second. Yesh behavla agoy magshimim. The al pipshat means, are they from the silliness of the goyim, which are the idols? And the idols of the goyim bring rain. Yesh mehavla goyim magshimim. Can those the people worship? Can they possibly bring rain? Can the brachim possibly bring about this elixir, this life-giving elixir that enables life? It's nonsense. So it's but over here, this is the remez inside havla goyim. This is hefsek neshima, which is the hevel, because the goyim, the main thing that guides the goyim is the hevel hayofi. That they are that particular type. That's the thing that pushes the most. Hevel hayofi and sham pchinas geshomim, the pchinas of rain that we are talking about. It is about the kind of wealth. It brings about the kind of wealth. It's about isboyinus laTorah, that you're able to observe in the Torah the kind of layers that are possible to get, because they don't have that. For Havla Goyim, Atzias and Neshama cannot bring about these kind of rains, because the Geshomim is only through the Neshima. It is the Neshima of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's the breath of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that brings about, it fertilizes, that impregnates the Bria. That's what we say. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Adam, right? Then it says, "Vayipach be'apav nishmas chaim." And HaKadosh Baruch Hu blew into him nishmas chaim. So first of all, there is that physical aspect, the receiving aspect that will be developed into a being, and Hashem breathes into it nishmas chaim. Same way, the earth has all the potential to bring everything and to produce everything, but unless the rain comes on it to fertilize it and to catalyze the entire process, the rains themselves come from Nishmas Hashem. And same thing, it says Mitras Hashem. This is called Mitras Uzoi. That's the rains, the squalls of the might of Hashem. Why do you call the might of Hashem? Why do you say that the ocean, tsunami, or those are the might of? Why is Dafka the rain is the might of Hashem? Because Keviyocho, it's a parallel bechina, the same way that the might of men is the thing that enables them to progeny. That Inyan that progenites the world, that fertilizes the world, that brings about all the oisha to grow in the world, comes from the rain. So the rain is considered Gishme Mitras Uzoi. That's the might Kaviyahol of Hashem, because that's the impregnating Bechina. That wealth becomes lessened by the Hevel. So the Pashup Pshat is, he says, the hon that comes from nonsense. In other words, the person doesn't work for, but robbery or anything illegal, he says it will never sustain itself. It will never exist. Ultimately, it will go away. It's only you can see it that a person wins the lottery, most of them become balichoivis very, very quickly because there's no work. And it's very interesting that B'chlal is the Mama Musgar in America, where people admire people with wealth. Lottery winners are not considered to be anything. Some Joe Schmo bought a ticket in a bodega and won $800 million. If he would make $100 million, but he opened the business and he did, whatever. Oh, Donald, he's a getchka, he's an idol. But yeah, you just bought a ticket and you got yourself $1 billion. That's nothing. You're nothing. That's because America is the epitome of Malchus Hamolon. In America, it's not the money. It's not the money that counts. The money is the rank. If you want to know if you're a corporal, depends how much money you got. Middle class, you have up to, I don't know, 60, 70, 80 million, $1,000 a year, then you consider like a private or corporal, sergeant, whatever it is. If you're driving a BMW, then maybe you're, this one. And then, as Rabbeinu says in the Masim about Tefillah, whatever it is that you own, or people meet you, American people meet you. Person they ask you, Sagasi they ask you, what do you do? What do you care what they do? I make barbecue, play the guitar. That's not what I'm asking you. So what are you asking me? What's your job? What's your work? What do you care what my work is? Why don't you know what my hobbies are? You ask me what my work is. Because I want to know who are you. If you are a private banker, okay, I don't know, you're a general. If you own, if you own an NBA team, then you're, I don't know, field marshal. I don't know, whatever. The thing that you own is a sign of who you are and what ranks are on your shoulder. What kind of stars are on your lapel, whatever it is. Yeah, CEO depends. The CEO of what, there's like in the Navy, there's rear admiral, there's vice admiral, there's fleet admiral. Different kind of, it's not just. All depends. All depends what you have. Because it's through the Hevel. Nismar Sa'on, Rabbeinu says that the more falsehood there is there, the less blessed that particular money is. Zeh Pchinas again, v'kar ruach ish tvuno, and somebody who is cold in nature, somebody who is cool under pressure, rather. Kar ruach ish tvuno. It says that somebody who is the breath of his mouth, in other words, the words that he uttered, the ruach that comes from his mouth, is precious, the less he speaks, the less he says. He is a man of tevuna. He's a man of understanding. It's extremely telling. Also tells how far we are actually understanding what's going on here. The fact that the Rebbe keeps on bringing another iteration of it, and another iteration of it, and another iteration of it. Okay, we got it. No. There's another one. Each one is a different level, is a different room within a room, an opening within an opening, world within a world. that Rabbeinu explains over here. Probably should look at Biur Likutim and find out what each one of these things say. I don't know. The Rebbe explains this is when a Rikas and Neshima person is Zocher, like the lengthening of the Neshima, person is Zocher to Ashiras, and Ashiras is Zocher to great insight in the Torah. So it is through Kar Ruach, in other words, the lengthening of the Ruach. You bring in the cold air, as we said before. You're Zocher to be a Ish Tvuna, a man that has great understanding, great comprehension in Torah. וזה בחינת הכל says, וזה שניסmas shadoi tavinum, that the soul, it comes from the Shin Dalad. This is the sphere say Yesod, tavinum, that will bring him, there's an inner of the seichel, the neshama resides in the brain, in the seichel of a person. Keikas beinunus, ultimately the ability for insight and understanding comes through the neshima, comes through the breathing, karuach. Through the Arichas and Neshama, Yazechet Ashiras, with the Ashiras, Yazechet to be able to explain the Torah, to understand things, levels in the Torah, that otherwise you couldn't see it. Because the main lengthening of the Neshima is the thing that has the koyach to bring these bayinus. And the Rebbe continues, now we're talking about Tikkun HaSeichel, talking the rectification of the Seichel. With the Seichel Pogum, when the Seichel is being damaged, and then we're talking about Tikkun HaSeichel, how you rectify it. Well, there Neshima. Amazing stuff. Lim Begashmias. We actually forget to breathe. If you would notice, whatever it is, that when people get tense, they get this, they get that, they stop breathing. When you want to lower down the stress of a person, whatever it is, would breathe. You know, all kinds of meditations, whatever, they're all predicated on breathing. Bring air in, out, and bring it in. That's the thing, the miyash of the seichel. Bring it down. When a person gets hysterical, what happens? It's a kotz neshima, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, right? The person panics. And then Rabbi says as follows: Ki ikar seichel shel tikunai. The main tikkun of the seichel, the rectification of a person's sense, to be able to understand things, to be able to see things. The person will be able to be misboina, a person will be able to look into things and to understand things. Well, there are shmonim shebaguf, by the quote-unquote oils in the body. Oil in the candle is a thing that enables a flame to burn. Now Chanukah is coming soon. So, by the way, I get the Chodesh to everybody. It's Rosh Chodesh today. So again, the seichel of a person is like a burning wick. It has to have the oil to burn. So the oil to burn to keep a seichel active and insightful. There has to be that substance, that kind of a metzias in the body, as it were, of oils in the body, the oils of the body. The seichel is like a burning candle, the Rebbe says. It burns, it's sustained, so the flame of the seichel is sustained by those oils that are being drawn to it, like a candle. It's like the oil that's being drawn to a burning wick. But if the body is depleted of these kind of oils, the seichel is not able to burn in a process of his bayinus, of reflecting and looking into the things that you're learning. Because when you're thinking, the brain uses an immense amount of energy. The brain probably uses more energy than any other organ in the body, even more than the heart, much more than the heart. You notice that when we're talking about these inyonim, and you try to follow it, and you're working yourself to follow it, you realize at a certain point in time that you're almost falling asleep. It's not because it's boring. It's because it simply exhausts the seichel. I remember there's something that used to happen to me a lot when I would learn, with the chavrusa, or learn Likutey Moaharn, and they would talk. I would just, I was very interested in what they had to say, but I was falling asleep. And I was very embarrassed. What to do? I mean, like, he is doing me this favor, and he's learning whatever it is, and I'm falling asleep in the middle of learning with him. And I didn't realize it's because my mind, was the seichel was still damaged, comparatively. And what was required of me was I wasn't up to snuff. I couldn't keep up. It exhausted, the resources of my mental acuity, whatever you want to call it, and I would fall asleep. So I remember your father, all of a sudden, would come, and whenever we would learn, at some point in time, he would fall asleep, and then he would wake up again. And that's exactly it. With his profound age, whatever, each one ages differently, whatever it is. So at a certain point in time, I remember that I went to Baba Sali. By the way, his daughter just passed away, at the age of 98. Tzaddik is the daughter of Baba Sali. Her name was Turjaman. Rabbanit Turjaman. It was an incredible tzaddikis. And so when I went to Baba Sali was already in his 90s. And I remember, that I was there, and he would fall asleep. Then he would wake up and say a few words, and whatever, then he would fall asleep again. Because the mind becomes, tires out, so easily, whatever is the capacity, because the oils in the body run out. So the seichel, gets exhausted very quickly, relatively quickly. And a seichel, look, it's very news. And Rebbe says, and since when there are no oils in the body, the seichel cannot keep on burning with sensible insight. That causes insanity. Because what happens is the brain, when people are young, okay, so the brain keeps on running, but there are no oils there. What happens to an engine? There's no oil in the engine. It burns up, right? It seizes up. It heats up to the point that that's it. If it runs out of fuel, that's one thing. You could put more fuel in there, it'll run again. But if the oil burns out, that's it. You kill the engine. So the oil that we're talking about here, he says that people that don't have the oils in the body, the validation is selfish. That's because the various is the various liquids, natural liquids of the body, when they dry up, it brings about the moach itself becomes faulty, breaks down. It doesn't have that kind of oils to burn properly. And all the liquids and all the natural juices, if you want to call it, and the shmonim and the oils which are in the body, and they made possible through the breathing. What you have the heart. The heart is burning. The heart produces heat. The heart needs to be cooled off all the time. so it doesn't overheat. The cooling of the heart is the lung. Brings air in, cools, and takes out, carries out the excess heat that the heart produces. If it wasn't for the wings of the lung that breathe upon, that they keep on blowing over the heart, the heart would burn up, basically heat up all the body. If the wind wouldn't come from the lungs, would chill and cool the heart would burn the entire body. The ruach of the neshim, of the breathing, that comes into the air, that comes into the lung, brings coolness, coldness, the cooling effect into the body, and it makes the body, it sustains the body, so the body can continue to exist. It's a very, 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 very precarious balance between heat and cool that has to be kept. The main sustainability of the liquids and the oils of the body is by the neshima. This is sustained by the neshima, that the reya, that the lung receives from the outside in order to cool off the heart that produces heat all the time. And that cold air that comes in is a kiyum seichel. There's a thing, the sustainability that sustains the seichel. The seichel is able to breathe, to burn in his beinanus. Has to be active for the motor of the brain to keep on running, producing the heat that it does. Zeh bechinas ner Hashem nishmas odom. The candle of Hashem is the neshama of a body. In other words, a neshama of a body is the candle of Hashem. The same way that a person is a candle, there's a flame, a wick burns, and there are oils that are being drawn to the wick, and it burns. The neshama, there's a neshama shebemoichin, says that the neshama, which is in the head, that's the thing that gives a person the seichel, is able to comprehend things and to look into things, especially into the kiyum of Ner Hashem, the main sustainability of Ner Hashem, which is the seichel, through the neshima. So we made somebody who covets the beauty of women, the bechina of holding the breath in, he gets to poverty, the kind of spiritual poverty that we're talking about. But somebody has a yira, he keeps away from that. He's very careful of that, because he keeps himself distant from the beauty of women, and he receives a bechina of the opposite of stoppage of breathing. In other words, the lengthening of breathing, arichas and neshama. So this is zerchet to ashiras. So the yira has the skoich to bring a person to wealth. So the yira get arichas yamim, able to contain the wealth, and so forth and so on. Nimtza shadei yira, it is through the yira, the zerchet arichas yamim, which in itself, in turn, brings about the wealth, which in turns bring about the capacity to be able to comprehend the Torah. The ultimate lesson from this is really very, very simple. We learn from this, we know this is something that can be learned in infinite ways and understood on infinite levels. But the main thing that we need to learn from this and to keep from this, simply as we said before the last year, keep ourselves away from being drawn by the beauty of women. And without yira without, okay, so, okay, I'm sorry. Okay, what should I do? I don't have yira. No, what do you want? What do you want to do now? I don't have the yira. You ask for it. You just ask for it. Look, each and every one of us, since we're already here, already learning Teres Avinu, we have a bechina of being, staying aware, of being aware of the Hevel HaYofi, of the beauty of women. Some more, some less. Each one according to his level. But the thing is that we sort of like form an envelope of comfort. We said it many times before. That's too much. This is not enough. What about the way I am now? That's okay. So once we already connected the tzaddik, we're connected to Rabbeinu. So we're aware all the time that there is the sort of we're cheating ourselves here. It's like we're moving. We realize that we are lacking. We need to do more. But how much more do we need to do? That is determined by how much year do we have. In order to be zecher, to be totally nishmar from that, to be totally careful of that and cut it off completely. That depends on how aware you are of how severe this particular issue is. A person is very much aware they need to be careful not to ingest poison. I mean, you can't say, come on, man, you're really taking it overboard. What's a little poison between friends? Nobody says that. Poison? Are you nuts? But poison people understand. There's no middle road here. I remember how shocked I was. I used to work. I was a cashier in a supermarket, and I became violently sick in the stomach because when you're working, work a shift. It's a long shift. You have to sit there. And you get hungry. Okay, so you take something, whatever it is, and between clients, buyers, whatever it is, you eat something. The thing is that they give you cash. Now you don't realize how physically filthy money is. Actually, it says in Shulchan Aruch, it says that a person should never put money in his mouth because everybody touches it. The money, there's more, germs and bacteria, whatever it is, in money and anything else. In anything else. People go around, whatever it is, everybody touches the money. They go to the bathroom to wash their hands. Don't wash their hands, Go to a restaurant, it says employees must wash hands. Okay, so, what about people that aren't employees? People that eat there. They don't wash their hands, they go to eat. Whatever it is, and they pay the money. I became violently sick. One time, two times, what the heck is going on here? The boss, my boss told me, you don't understand. You're dealing with the filthiest thing in the world, not only spiritually, but physically. I was like, I had, these Alka-Gel, whatever, before I would eat something, I would, how toxic. What is with the awareness of how toxic is it to be drawn, to be attracted by the beauty of women? We all realize, being that we're connected to tzaddik, that there's room to grow. But how critical is it? That already varies. the motor that drives us to be more and more careful is the Yira. But that's what I said before. I don't have Yira. What you want to do? That's what I have. I'm basically aware. Okay. I'll look at it. No. You got to down for it. You got to ask Hashem. We are learning this Torah. The Rebbe says you have to keep yourself from the beauty of women. And the main thing in order to get that Yira, is to ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu to give me Yira. A word here, a word there, a sentence here, a sentence there. If a person doesn't wake up by himself, HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends the messengers to wake him up. If a person doesn't want to listen, okay. Rabbeinu says sometimes the Kodesh Baruch Hu calls a person, sometimes he touches a person, sometimes he hits him, sometimes he kicks him. All depends how sensitive, how quickly you understand that Kodesh Baruch Hu is talking to you through people. Kodesh Baruch Hu is talking to you through everything that happens to you in your life. But somebody has a shtickle tzechel. The first thing you need to understand, you need to ask for Yira. Because once you have Yira, that already drives, it's a chain reaction for everything else. If you have Yira, you have Richas Yamim, you have wealth, you have Tfilas Torah, everything follows. If there's no Yira, the whole thing brings to nothing. Then you can have, I don't know, the billions upon billions and trillions of dollars, and what's the idea? Okay, we're going to send people to Mars. What are they going to do there? I don't know. Well, yeah, then they're going to go to Mars. Like, what are we going to do? Okay, let's go to Neptune. I don't know. First of all, everybody should have a good Chodesh. Chodesh Kislev, Kenan Ahara. There's Chanukah coming about, Kenan Ahara. Should help us, B'at Hashem. But everybody needs health. I'm so B'at Hashem will get health. Refuah Shleimo. Everybody should feel good. Because when a person doesn't feel good, even if he's healthy, he's not running on all cylinders. B'at Hashem, I'll be able to see what's the main thing, what's the ikr, what's the tafel. It's a chodesh, the Shabbos, and a good chodesh. And a chodesh that we will keep on seeking when we learn this thing, keep on seeking the Ruach HaKodesh of Rabbeinu. Ruach HaKodesh that I'm seeking of Rabbeinu when we learn this is, what am I supposed to do? What's the lesson that I'm supposed to learn from this? How can I bring this into action according to the way I understand? I mean, I understand maybe 2% of what I'm talking about, maybe less, probably less. But that doesn't matter. The thing that matters is, first of all, I'll learn the words of Rabbeinu. That's the first thing. But secondly, how do I use it? How do I put it into action according to what I'm able to understand? Okay, I'll be able to understand differently, but I don't. But my life is the only life I have to live. That's it. I don't have to live everybody else's life. So that's a good chodesh and a good Voch and good Shabbos and Brocha and Atzlocha and health and Gashmis and Ruchnis and alles geht's with that. Kol tov.